Okay, commenters, you win. Following my review of the big old update to Empire at War Remake, I was surprised with how many of you asked if I was ever going to talk about Awakening of the Rebellion. In hindsight, I shouldn't be that shocked really. I failed to cover AOTR in my Empire at War mod roundup video, and also in my original Empire at War review, so it's certainly due its time in the spotlight. And it was updated sort of recently with version 2.9, so it's about time I have a look at it. Besides, who am I to say no, considering how many of you out there tend to love videos on anything Empire at War? It's a win-win, really, and I'll take any excuse I can to cover Empire at War some more. Sorry, schedule, you've been shaken up once again. So, Awakening of the Rebellion, what is it? Well, it's a total conversion of Forces of Corruption, as most if not all of the biggest mods for Empire at War are, but it's different in the fact that it's inspired by a completely different game, and aims to implement features of said game. You may have guessed already, but that title is the now ancient Star Wars Rebellion. Alongside that, it's of course got the seemingly requisite list of other new features, like a bunch of new units, improved graphics, altered mechanics, and more. There's a lot to cover here, so let's not beat around the bush. And just a quick note, if you want to play Awakening of the Rebellion for yourself, there's a link in the description to the Steam Workshop page. As mentioned, there's a lot of freshness here with Awakening of the Rebellion. There's so much of it in fact that I honestly don't know where to start. Apologies in advance, there are certainly things I'm going to miss in this relatively short video, especially if you're looking for an in-depth review of the current faction meta or ideal strategies. Reading the wiki and active discussion threads for this mod really do make me wish I could spend 100 hours on everything I've ever covered to get to know it inside and out. But unfortunately I just can't do that, so this will be more of a high level overview. And with that out of the way, let's begin with the factions. The Empire and Rebellion remain from the base game, but the Consortium has been usurped by the Black Sun Pirates, who fill a similar role while being more of a pirate amalgamation than their progenitors. Each faction has received a huge revamp in terms of their unit rosters, to the point where they're nearly entirely unrecognisable. The number of new units is mind-boggling, with a seemingly endless stream of more and more becoming available by building new special stations or conducting new research. Even units that returned from the original game, which are few and far between, have been updated. Not only have their power levels and stats been rebalanced, but there are also new types of hardpoints and more of them overall, which is a great way to add variety to macro skirmishes in the wider battle. And now that I think about it, do you think we could maybe get some hardpoints for ground skirmishes? Maybe it's a barrier in the game engine somehow, but wouldn't it be cool to have like targetable points in some of the bigger ground vehicles? Like imagine being able to shoot out the legs of an AT-AT and have it stay as a stationary but still very much dangerous cannon. While it's great to have so many new things to build, in skirmish it can be a bit overwhelming, with many a ship filling similar roles and your PopCap not being nearly bloated enough to build everything, let alone multiple of everything. Where this engorging shines though is in Empire at War's ever premier mode, Galactic Conquest. AOTR brings several new expansive campaigns, showcasing the breadth of its offerings by different options centered around new maps, factions, and technology. There are of course what I like to call the all-in campaigns, with most if not all of the galaxy ripe for the taking, but what I find most interesting are the ones that go out of their way to showcase the new sub-factions and their associated technology. In this case, something like the post-Endor originating Imperial In this case, Endor originating Empire. In this case, things like the post-Endor originating Imperial Remnant and New Republic. While you can reach these tech levels and unlock the new technologies in the open-ended campaigns, I just like having it all set from the start, so you can really get into the vibe and setting of the narrative. These new factions bring a lot of new tech, but subsequently drop a lot of the older stuff too, which makes sense when you think about it. Apart from some outliers, the New Republic isn't going to be using all of the same equipment as the Rebel Alliance. These campaigns do the most to make AOTR feel quite fresh, with the expanded and much fleshed out mission system also doing a fair share of work to contribute. Awakening of the Rebellion is a fantastically put together mod, but wow, there is a lot here. I certainly wouldn't recommend it as your first foray into Empire at War, or even your first foray into Empire at War mods, to be honest. The number of changes not only to the unit roster and their abilities, but also to mechanics and gameplay systems is not something you see in your run-of-the-mill mod, and it really does feel like a hugely expanded experience compared to the base game, and quite different in a lot of ways. It can be pretty overwhelming with all the new things, but with time it's also very rewarding. The plethora of Galactic Conquest campaigns are particular standouts, with huge variety being delivered from the new mission system and the tech overhaul. And the new graphical look is welcome too, though when compared to some of the other Empire at War mods out there, like say Thrawn's Revenge or Empire at War Remake, I don't think it does as much to set itself apart. But I don't really take issue with that though, as the main differentiators for the big players in the Empire at War mod scene have always been their gameplay, not how shiny they are. As an entire package, I'm really impressed with Awakening of the Rebellion, but I don't think it's going to end up on my rotating list of mods that I play whenever I reinstall Empire at War. There's just a bit too much going on to remember it all when you play as infrequently as I do. But if you are looking to sink some real time into a mod that makes Empire at War feel like a near new experience, then there are certainly worse ways to do it. If you liked the look of Awakening of the Rebellion, then check it out using the links in the description, and consider supporting the creators if you'd like to see its development continue. And if you'd like to see more of these videos, then you can support me by liking and subscribing, or by taking it one step further and chucking me a few bucks on Patreon or here on YouTube. You'll join legends like Overlord Jeebus, Nutty Jawa, Jacob Masick, Jack Walsh, George Rain, Crizzy218, T-Edits, Crispy Robo Chicken, Takayo, David DeBolly, and Standby for Systems Nominal, who, of course, supports me at the Paladin tier. Thank you very much, it's always appreciated. So thanks again, and I will see you all next time.